Welcome back to Get Real. We are now in the month of June. Crazy. I am Kim Malloy, joined by Davis and Bailey, as always. And on this podcast, we like to pull the actual numbers of what's going on in the market, tell you what they mean, not what the headlines say, not what your neighbors say, but what's actually going on locally here in the market. And I have to say, June's numbers are genuinely interesting. On the surface, if you were just to kind of look at an overview, you might think it looks like a slowdown, but there's something, very different going on. There's no slowing down. Let me give you a quick market snapshot. Inventory is down 13% compared to this time last year. Closed sales are down just 0.7%, and prices are 0.3%. They're up. Sorry about that. Prices are up 0.3%. Days on market sits at 93, which is higher than we saw this time last year. So kind of all over the place. Now, what I want to do is get your reaction to these numbers. So Davis, what does this tell you?
Well, I feel like it's busier than what those numbers are kind of saying, especially since Memorial Day.
Yeah.
Like Memorial Day, I just feel like since then it's been a lot busier. I feel like the price, prices being up what would you say?
It's like 0.3, 0.3%.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that's pretty spot on. I think it really depends on the location and the kind of property that you have for sale. Is huge.
Yeah. Bailey, what about you? What's your reaction to that?
I would say the same thing. I think a lot of it is the location, obviously, and then to your point on inventory. With it being down, some homes or neighborhoods, the prices are just way up.
Hilton Head Plantation.
Yeah. And then in some neighborhoods where there's, like a Sun City where there's 200 homes on the market, like it's just not, you can't compare that.
Yeah,
so,
it's very, very community specific.
Yes.
And I think, the tension between tight inventory, longer days on market is a lot of what we need to talk about today.
Yeah.
So let's start with inventory, because inventory really is the foundation of the entire market, right?
Yes.
So we're down 13% from last year, which is not a small number.
No.
I mean, if you're a buyer, I think you're really feeling that right now.
Yes.
And then prices are only up by 0.3%.
Yeah.
So supply is shrinking, but prices are holding, right?
Yeah.
So Davis, when you're out with buyers, like what is that conversation that you're having right now?
Well, I mean, there's low inventory, and it's slim pickings. So, buyers have been watching the market, know what prices are doing, and they do see that we are at low inventory. So, there's not much to choose from. We're also in the summer months where it's busy and you can't get in every rental. Like I just had a guy in town who wanted to see, about 15 properties, and out of those we could only get in 6. And so I feel like, that kind of plays when you're looking at investment properties, single family homes, second homes, those are easier to show, right? And so, but yeah, I mean, it just kind of depends on who you're talking to and, what they're looking for.
Yeah. So Bailey, are your buyers, when you're out there showing, are they adjusting their criteria because of inventory, or are they holding firm and waiting longer?
I have a lot of people that are waiting. I have a lot of people that are waiting. And to be honest, I don't blame them. I don't, if I was in their shoes, I don't know what I would do. But I will say that it has opened up their eyes to other areas of either Hilton Head or Bluffton, which I feel like, 4 or 5 years ago, people were just dead set on what they wanted. And I feel like now I'm starting to be more intentional with everyone about like, okay, well, I know there's not many houses in Sea Pines, but have you thought about Apalmino Dunes, or have you thought about, you know, something outside of even that?
Yeah.
So
kind of teaching them to be open-minded a little bit more as you navigate.
It's definitely making you get creative too.
Yeah.
You know,
from the seller side and the buy side.
Yes.
But I mean, here's what I think is happening. Low inventory is kind of, you know, acting as that price floor, and it's keeping the value stable because there's very slim pickings, but it's not creating that urgency that, you know, we've experienced before with low inventory. So I think it's important too for sellers to understand that just because we have low inventory doesn't mean everything's going to sell fast.
No.
You know, and so I think that's kind of an important thing that
price is still very key. Like what you come on the market at. I mean, people are paying attention.
Yeah. So, you know, here's something I think for sellers to think about. Closed sales are at 0.7% down from this time last year, and that's really nothing. I mean, that's not really a big change.
No.
So, you know, nothing's collapsed, and pending sales are actually up 6.7% from last year. So I think, you know, by maybe this time next month, we'll see closed sales being higher because pending sales are higher. So that they're going to eventually close. So our pace is similar, very similar to last year, maybe ahead a little bit. So it's not a demand problem. No. And I think, you know, decision-making process is more deliberate. And I feel like that's something we've been talking about consistently about buyers is, you know, they are not jumping.
No.
I also think, you know, there's a lot of properties out there that need a little bit of work, you know, not that they, like, that's one thing that I've seen is just, you know,
so buyers, that's like the hesitation point.
Yeah, it's like buyers know what they want, and that's what they want, and
they're doing their homework.
You know, they're doing their homework. They've seen, like, you know, especially if you're not moving here full time. You know, a lot of those people that live outside the area are not. I mean, they don't want to. You know, they'll paint and they'll do, you know, little cosmetic stuff, but they don't want to do any like major remodel or have to do really much work at all. I mean, it was. You know, I showed a guy this weekend. I mean, they don't live here, and there's a property priced very well in Forest Beach, and then there was another property that's about $70,000 more. You know, I think it's a little overpriced, but he was willing to pay for it because it didn't. All you needed to do is bring your bags, and so like he just didn't want to do anything, and that was. The only thing it really needed is a shower, right? And so like a walk-in shower. They don't want to touch the property. There are some people out there that, you know, are willing to do the work and get it at a better price, and that, you know, you have a lot of negotiating power in that sense. But yeah, I mean, I just feel like, you know, same thing with like my Golf Master. I mean, it needed some work, nothing major, but I mean, every showing we had, it just came back, you know, as like, you know, they're not willing to do the work. They'll pay for something that's fully redone. We took it off the market, did some work to it, put it back on, went under contract immediately. And so it was like, it just kind of shows that, you know, people not from the area are not really willing to do much work. So you got to have your property ready for your, you know, it needs to be priced very right in the condition that it's in.
Yeah, so if you're a seller or you're thinking about selling, here's like the news flash. The way you're presenting your property is critical right now. It's critical. And I was just out on showings yesterday, and we went to probably 5 similar properties, okay? And by that, I mean 3 were in the same complex, same floor plan. They were villas. And we walked in, and this client of mine is not opposed to doing some work. Okay. So everything didn't have to be shiny.
Perfect.
The first one we saw, shiny. Loved it. Easy breezy, move-in ready. The second one we saw had a tenant in it, long-term tenant. They left for the showing. It was disastrous inside. And I mean, we literally walked in, she did one loop and said, I'm done. And we left. I think even though it needed work, if it had been clean and able to navigate well, that would have been there could have been a strong possibility. So presentation, in some ways when you have a tenant and you have less control, obviously, as to how it's going to be presented, but it's something to think about too. Is it really the time to put it on the market if it's not going to put its best face forward? That's something to, to think about. And
first impression is so key. Right when you open the door. Whether it's the smell.
Oh my God.
Smell was another one yesterday for us. Big time. And I would say we went into three of the properties had bad smells. And they were moisture related.
Mold.
And I mean, it was very evident to everybody, and that was a in and out, done.
Yeah.
So, Bailey, what about you? Like, what are you seeing in terms of amount of showings to an offer? Has that time extended? Are you feeling like clients are needing more? Are you doing more showings?
I'm definitely doing more showings.
Yeah.
I've showed more this year than I have ever showed. Now that's because some of my clients are newer to the market, so I'm trying to get them familiar with everything. But even for the people that are ready to go, there's not just one look and an offer. I feel like everyone's going back. Everyone's walking back through the property, looking at everything, opening the cabinets, doing the whole thing. Whereas I don't think that really was the past.
Yeah. I mean, buyers are doing their homework.
Yes.
So if you are a seller, you really need to hear that.
Yeah.
You may have a beautiful property. You may have taken prime care of it. But if it has it's great but, anything, some things you can control, some things you can't, right?
Oh, yeah.
But if it has it's great but, that but is going to lead to more days on market, regardless. It just is.
No matter what.
And it's not necessarily that there's something wrong with it. It's just buyers are more deliberate. They're doing their homework. They're weighing all their options, and then they're deciding.
If you want the best price or the highest price or whatever, I mean, a buyer has to be able to walk in your house and say not one bad thing about it. Unless it's a preference issue, like what, something that you can't control, whether it's a layout, whatever. But I mean, if there's, a water stain, if there, if something looks older and the rest of the house, everything has to be perfect.
Yeah. Back to the smell thing. I had someone the other day walk in and it smelled like mothballs. And the agent asked me for feedback, and I said, I'm not, I can't lie to you. My buyer was pretty upset about the mothball smell. Like, we walked out immediately. And the agent said, I had no idea there was a mothball smell. How crazy.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's the other thing is you have to be very, very, very aware as a seller.
Get his nose checked.
Well, okay, so let's go. I mean, this is all like feeds into that 93 days on market, right? Number, where we are. And I think really that is kind of the real story, because if you're out there and you're looking at property, or you're a seller, and you hear 93 days on market, to the person who doesn't live and breathe this every day, that may sound like, wow, demand is decreasing,
Yes.
But it's not. It's
3
not.
months, I feel like pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, compared to years ago, pre-COVID, I mean, that's nothing, right?
Yeah.
That's actually still pretty short. But, I think that just kind of feeds into everything we're saying. And so I think there's like kind of summarizing what we were saying from a seller perspective, there's 3 main mistakes, that are going to help drive these days on market up, right? The first one's not pricing correctly. Thinking that you can, get a super high number and push the market is going to work counteractive to your end result. So it's very important that you listen to the real estate professional that you're working with as far as pricing goes, right? Okay, and the other thing I just want to add on to that, and you guys chime in if you want with this first mistake, but as far as pricing goes, I know that maybe your neighbor down the street, right, got a higher price, but you're a different house and you were probably built at a different time and you've probably made different improvements. It probably has a different floor plan, probably has a little different view. It's not apples to apples. So it's apple to oranges. And so it's really critical that you listen to who you're working with, the professional who knows the market, really understands, can explain it to you, the whys and all the details.
Yep.
And that you listen, because it's truly a partnership. And you got to work together to get that result that you're looking for. So the number 2 mistake would be deferred maintenance. And again, we've talked about this before, but I feel like we can't hammer that in enough. It really matters.
Yeah.
It really matters. Again, it's like if you have one house over here that might be priced a little bit higher, but a buyer really likes it and they love yours, but yours has a lot more required maintenance out of the gate, I'm finding they'll spend more and go over here.
Right.
Are you?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
100%.
So sellers need to hear that, or prospective sellers, if you're considering, do all of that. Get a home inspection and figure out where you really need to concentrate to bring it ready to sell. And then the number 3 thing would be just assuming low inventory is going to guarantee a sale.
It's not.
It's not.
Oh, no, definitely not.
I mean, I have 2 properties listed right now that are beautiful, and they're super, they've been extremely well cared for, maintained. They show nicely, everything. They're priced correctly. The feedback's amazing, but each one has a but. Just a but. Actually, an uncontrollable but. It's not something they can control, but it is a but. And that but is what is hindering the sale.
Yeah.
And so how do you overcome that? Well, we've gotten creative on some of the offerings with them, but it is a but.
It's a lot. It's tough. It's tough.
Yeah. And maybe in more ways than one. But anyway, okay, so let's talk buyers again. Let's kind of go back there, because I feel like buyers are using that 93-day on market and the low inventory as excuse sometimes as to why they're not
moving and grooving.
Yeah. And is that smart or is that a mistake?
For some people, I would say it's not a mistake if they're looking for something specific. But, there we go again with the but. But I have many people where it's a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
I agree.
Davis, for you, like, for the buyer who finds what they like, but they're like, I'm going to wait for prices to come down. It looks like there's a lot of price decreases, so I think they're going to come down, and I think I'm just going to wait. What are you going to tell them?
You have to buy today.
What?
No, I'm just kidding. But no, I think there's a lot of negotiating. I always think that it's, if you like the place and if you like it in this market, why not shoot for it? The worst thing they can say is no.
Yeah.
And we keep looking. Don't be, just because something's priced wrong doesn't mean if you like it, doesn't mean you shouldn't make an offer.
Right.
The worst thing they can say is no. So I mean, and I've seen people come back, you know,
Oh,
where
yeah.
you make an offer,
Yep.
and then
Happens all the time.
you know, they still haven't sold at this certain price, and then, you know, the sellers become a little bit more motivated. They know they've had an offer, they turn it down, and then they come calling back and say, hey, like, you know, will your buyer still, you know, make that offer?
Mm-hmm.
Or will they still do that? Or are they still interested? And so I say don't be shy, but don't force anything. Don't, you know, if you don't love it, don't overpay for it.
Mm-hmm.
But also, you know, wait. I mean, we can always wait. There's gonna be something that comes up at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's
you know,
just
there's
is
no
the cost
rush.
of waiting.
Is the cost of wait? Yeah,
worth it?
And that's what, you know, something. I mean, I got guys calling me that they were gonna wait. They're waiting for prices to come down. They're waiting for prices to come down. Rates to come down.
Now they're paying more.
Neither has happened. So you're paying. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, well, we have to buy now rather than next year or the year after that because we don't know what's gonna happen. And something like a lot of people have been doing that I've seen, they've been doing a 15-year mortgage. I mean, rates are going to come down at some point in time, you know.
Who knows when that will be?
Who
Right.
knows? But in 15 years, the odds are that they're going to come down at some point.
Right,
Yeah.
So
right. Sometime between now and then.
You usually don't hold on to your property for 30 years in most cases anyways, you know. So
Okay, so let me ask you, Bailey, what do you think is an unknown risk to the average person of waiting? Like something that they may not think about, why waiting might not be the right idea. And I'm not saying like buy the totally wrong property, but I'm saying
No.
if one comes up, they do like it and they're like, but I think I'm going to wait.
Yeah.
What is something they're not thinking about that you know that you've seen or experienced, you know?
Well, prices have gone up.
yeah.
I mean, that's number one. Prices have gone up significantly. And I feel like right now people, it's kind of like what we said with the deferred maintenance thing. I think people are kind of like, ugh, you know, there's nothing really on the market that I like, you know, so they've waited too long, you know, and let things pass thinking that more would come on. We don't have a lot of inventory now, so, you know, that's another thing. But, you know, another thing I keep hearing is, you know, and this is a different, you know, spot of it is the interest rates. The interest rates have gone up. So, or
Although right now they, from this time last year, because I did do a comparison, they are slightly down, not a lot,
Yeah.
minimal, but they
Yeah.
are slightly down. But we all know they've come down, they've gone back up.
Yeah.
They're kind of just all over the place.
So I think that people thought by now that they were going to be down. And I think that, you know, for instance, I had someone go under contract and the rate went up from when the lender said, you know, what it was going to be. They got upset. And I said, to be honest, they're all over the place right now. And she was like, yeah, it's just super weird. By now, I would have thought they would have been more at a flat line instead of all over the place.
And so that's where I think too, like understanding as a buyer where some of your negotiating could be
Yeah.
is because I am seeing sellers offer some credit at closing or maybe buying down points and things like that that can really help you in that area. So that's something to really think about, consider, because I think that negotiating piece is in play pretty fairly regularly right now.
I was going to
feel
say.
like. Not so much, you know, we're not really in a market where sellers are paying all the closing costs and things like that. But there are, you know, I have seen where sellers are open to, you know, to offering some help with closing costs
Yeah.
or buying down points or, you know.
Well, at the end
all
of the day, they want to sell their property.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And they understand. I mean, the interest rate thing, it's not new news,
Right.
you know? So,
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's go a little rapid fire. So, what is surprising you most about the market right now? Right now, today, June 11th. Davis.
I just feel like it's hot. Like, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like it's hot right now. I feel like the market's hot. I feel like there's a lot of buyers here, ready to go, ready to buy something, ready to do, ready to finally make that move. Like, the Memorial Day week was just like night and day for me. I mean, I had a couple properties on. I mean, we had more showings on all of those properties individually. We had more showings on all those properties Memorial Day week than we did the whole time we've been on the market. Like, I don't know, it just like flipped the switch. I think it was just people, waiting till they're in town, waiting, they know there's no rush.
Yep.
They know it's not going to sell tomorrow. So I was surprised.
Yeah.
What about you? What is like, what's surprising you the most?
I would say something similar. I would say it is really weird that you just said that. There are a lot of people that have vacations planned to come here, and they're actually looking on their vacation instead of being on vacation. Which I feel like in the past I would get like, oh, I'll see you for a day maybe, something like that. It's more like, nope, we're here for vacation, but like I'm seeing them every single day.
Yeah, it's time. I feel like it's go time for a lot of people who have been sitting on that fence. And I think, maybe some of it has to do with, I don't know, what's going on in the world now, or the markets, or anything, but I think people are like, some people, like you said, are like, okay, well, prices aren't coming down, so I might as well just take the leap.
What's surprising you?
What's surprising you?
I would say, I think that right now this market is more, at least this is what I'm feeling, is more intentional than ever.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
And I mean that with every aspect, like obviously with buyers, we've been talking a lot about them, but also with sellers. And I feel like when you're representing a seller, you can't look at it, as a professional, you can't look at it as like a blanket. This is what I do for my clients. I think it has to be very specific, very intentional. Strategy is everything, and partnership and presentation. Those would be like, what I would say right now are the most critical factors in successful sales, and helping sellers understand you've got to be a little patient, and just because you don't have an offer doesn't mean there's something wrong, doesn't mean even it's too high necessarily. If you're looking at the market and if it has a but, and I hate to keep talking about it like that, but if it's great and it is going to take a little longer. And but there is a buyer out there, and they're just doing their homework.
Well, it takes one.
And if there is a consistent and or but or what have you about the property, then it's really important to figure out how you're going to overcome that. And I think another thing to consider, this is my own personal opinion, and you guys chime in, but I think, a lot of sellers want you to do the virtual staging online and things like that. I think there's a high value in the showcase listing where you can use different virtual staging options over what somebody has it decorated as, or in a vacant property or what have you. But as actual photos for a property as virtually staged, and somebody shows up and it's empty, I really think it does a property a disservice.
I agree.
Because I think that people don't have vision. Most people don't have vision.
Advertisement.
Well, to me, it's not so much false. It's just that you show up, and when a room is empty, it looks smaller. And people can't visualize what that looks like. So I think there's, in properties, especially in this market and everything we've been talking about today, personally, I feel like staging is very important right now.
Real staging.
That's what I mean. Real staging.
Tangible staging.
Is, visual, tangible. You can see it when you walk in the door.
You can touch
staging matters, and that fits into that presentation category.
It does.
100%.
So anyways, that those things are kind of, I don't know, what I'm seeing. So,
Yep.
I mean, basically we've kind of summarized everything.
Yep.
There's a lot to think about and know about and understand if you're a buyer or seller right now. And, what you're seeing on the market out there may look one way, but it's not necessarily that way. Do you guys have any final words you'd like to
Online is
contribute?
totally different than what's going on in the market. Because everybody's like, oh, prices are coming down. Prices are coming down. They're not coming down. Sellers are just coming on too high.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Or if they're not coming on too high, they may be coming on poorly presented.
Or,
It
either
could-
one.
it could-
Either one, but like, look, every
poorly
conversation,
maintained.
every conversation I have with a buyer, their first thing is like, prices are coming down. I'm like, no. Let me just show you these stats real quick. They're not coming down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have more negotiating power, but they're not coming down.
No.
Yeah. So there you have it. It's June 11th, and this is our take on the market behind the stats and taking all the data into account. And we are boots on the ground. We all three are
on the ground.
7 days a week, and we are living and breathing this. And if you would love to have a conversation, if we can be helpful in any way, it would be our pleasure to do that. So we thank you for watching. Please hit that button to subscribe so you can follow and track every month, and we'll see you next month.